Hey everyone, so we're going to talk about China cost of living today, which is following on from the Cambodia cost of living video. And we've got Oliver again with us today. Um,
Hello,
okay,
everyone.
so Oliver then, so he's lived in all parts of China. Well, obviously not all parts of China, but different parts of China. So tell us a little bit about cost of living in like different parts of China, like a generalized view about how much you can live on per month.
Well, it's extremely cheap, and it's much cheaper than Western countries, obviously. But something that you'll find surprising is it's actually cheaper than a lot of the more kind of well-known poorer countries, such as Cambodia, Thailand, or the Philippines. And to clarify that, when I say it's cheaper, if you're living in a city in those kinds of countries, then you'll actually be paying more than Chinese rent. Now, if you're living in the countryside in those countries, obviously it's dirt cheap, but that's not really relevant because
Yeah,
we're looking at
it's not
cities.
apples and apples, yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at cities. We're looking at places that you'd actually want to live, with various entertainment and jobs or whatever. So if you look at it on that kind of scale, then I can tell you a kind of range of what the rent would be
Yeah.
in, say, a bigger city.
Okay, so how about in some bigger cities? Obviously, there are some places that are going to be incredibly expensive, which are for very wealthy people. But let's say someone just wants a clean, small apartment. What are they looking at in a smaller city and a bigger city?
I'd say in a bigger city like Shenzhen, um, then it can range anywhere from living on the outskirts and only paying 500 RMB a month, up to living in the city centre, and you could be paying up to 5,000 RMB a month or
Yeah, or
over
more. Yeah.
for a nice 2 or 3 bedroom
Yeah.
apartment. So there's a really wide range, and obviously a big factor is commuting. If you don't want to commute far on the metro, then you're going to want to live nearer and paying those higher rents. But I mean, for Western people on a half decent salary, like 10 to 30,000 a month, then you can easily afford to pay for a good apartment in the city centre.
Okay, but some expats overpay for accommodation now. Do you think that's to do with language, or they're just not looking in the right places?
I think that's because they go to these agents, and then the agents see they can't speak any Chinese, and they give them a high price. And obviously, they're not smart enough to do the research. For me, I mean, as you know, I can speak pretty good Chinese, and I'm doing the research as well on the 58 website, which has all the listings.
58.com.
58.com. So if you have that combination, you can get Chinese prices. I mean, I've been able to even get under market prices. Like one place I stayed at in Guangzhou, it was so cheap that it was literally almost half of the market rent. So I'm definitely
A negotiator.
a good negotiator. I'm definitely more kind of savvy when it comes to living cheaper.
Okay.
That example I can give you, when I was in Guangzhou, I rented a place for 600 RMB a month. It was a 2 bedroom apartment with a balcony, and it was off from the road, so it was nice and quiet and secluded. Had really good kind of air around the area.
Yeah.
And it was only about 10-minute walk from the metro,
Mm.
so that should have been over 1,000 a month. And I haven't only lived in cheaper places. When I was earning better money, I rented a kind of penthouse kind of apartment in Dongguan, which was like a 2-floor large apartment. So I have lived in nicer places.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's possible to live in a nice place in a big city, but you'll be paying probably over 2,000 a month, or in the cheaper areas, then only over 1,000 a month, usually.
Okay.
But if you go to the smaller cities, then it gets much cheaper. You could probably half the prices from the big cities. But then again, in terms of the big cities, it can get even more expensive. If you go to Shanghai, which is the most expensive city for rent, you'll be paying over, you'll be paying even 1,500 RMB a month just to share a house. And that wouldn't even be in the city centre. That could be,
Mhm.
outskirts. it can be very expensive in China, as you know when you live there as well.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, rents are pretty cheap. What about of course, buying in China, right? Buying a house, buying a car is expensive. Actually, owning usually is pretty expensive. What else would you say is expensive in China apart from buying a house, buying a car? Um, is there
Cars are starting to get cheaper. You start the second hand market is getting bigger. You can now get a second hand car for a few one,
yeah.
2 or 3 or something. So affordability for cars is improving, but you've got the 100% import tax for obviously overseas cars, which is why it's initially so expensive.
Yeah. Well, what about how about something like alcohol in bars? I mean, in the supermarket, I would say it's very cheap in China, right?
Yeah.
But in bars, it's not extortionate, but it's not incredibly cheap.
It depends. If you're in a big city with a lot of rich people, you get bars that are catered for rich and catered for rich people that just want to meet those materialistic kind of women and show off their wealth. So the prices just reflect that.
Yeah.
Whereas you can go to a more westernized part of a big city, and then they might have more western kind of bars with reasonable prices. Or you can
And
go
offers
to the,
buy one get one free.
yeah, or you can go to the smaller cities, and you can also see a lot more reasonable prices for those more kind of Western style bars. But I mean, it's not overly expensive. If you go to a second tier city, then you might be paying something like 500-600 RMB to get a bottle of spirit. Or
That's
something.
one thing. Bottles are very good value in China compared to glasses, right? Because some bars they'll have a glass for 50 RMB, but the whole bottle's 500.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's about status, and a group of Chinese friends will go into a club and order a bottle for 500, 600 or whatever, or more, and then they'll get to sit with some girls and they'll probably pretend to be rich or something. And that's what it's about for a lot of these places, about showing off. A lot of guys like to go in and show off, which personally, that's not my kind of game. I haven't really been doing that at all.
Well, I think in the UK here, right, there's a limit to how much most people, even people with money, will pay, right? Because in the UK, especially outside of London, right, if a bar tried to charge £7 for a pint, even a rich person would say, well, this isn't good value, right? But in China, some people, it's a much more showy society, I think.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. You need to choose where you're going carefully, I guess.
Sure. Okay, so our last question then. Let's say someone wants to go to China, save money, but they also want to have fun, maybe go out once or twice a week, maybe have one holiday a year. It could just be to Thailand. It doesn't need to be an expensive holiday. How much on average could they spend per month then?
Probably depends, doesn't it? Because
let's say in a big city,
live very cheaply in a big city.
Sure.
It depends what you're going to be doing.
But let's say let's say someone wants to go out once or twice a week to like a club or a bar or a restaurant. Maybe the rest of the days, just like a normal kind of middle class lifestyle in the UK. Like the way many people live here, they might go out once or twice a week, have one holiday a year.
I think you can do that on even 10,000 RMB a month in China, because it is very cheap.
Yeah, sure. Okay then, I hope that's useful, guys, and have a good day.